Well, I totally agree that this is a local issue, that we have to fight and reclaim our local schools. I totally understand that. But understanding that as a teacher, I'm seeing teachers coming out of preparation at universities already brainwashed when they come out into the schools. So I'm asking our two esteemed professors, in the past, the United States, our universities, have always held tight to sort of the idea that they were preserving like intellectual sovereignty for us, and that our universities were places where people from all over the world wanted to come. You would think, just from sheer self-preservation, that if we allow professors inside the system to destroy our higher academic academies of higher learning, they're going to destroy their own self. Because if people no longer want to come here, and there isn't, if they have their way, so to speak, then they will cease to exist. They're, in a way, destroying their own self. And I wanted to ask you to please comment on why they don't see that if their utopia came true, we wouldn't need them.
We've had almost 100 years of distance between higher ed faculty who train the future teachers in K-12. The education schools began to be developed from about 1920 on. You had, as we know, in the 19th century, your normal schools or two-year schools. Many of them were founded in Massachusetts to begin with under Horace Mann's impetus. But in the 1920s or so, we had the development of education schools, and they are dismissed by academic faculty in the arts and sciences, which has always been the heart of most universities and liberal arts colleges in this country. And to this day, they disdain and don't like to have too much to do with the education schools. But what you're pointing to is the very serious problem of the accreditation of education schools. Accreditation is done by an external body, not by a group within the university, typically. And the education schools, like trade schools, are accredited by two organizations that merged last summer, or last year, and then produced their professional standards, so-called, for accrediting education schools. This is why, once that went through at the end of last August, it was like sealing the doom of our K-12 system, because among those professional standards was one that said schools of education would be accredited on the basis of their teaching future teachers to teach to Common Core's and next generation science standards. They were mentioned specifically in one of the professional standards. So this is how it's being locked in. And yes, the teachers will come out already committed to whatever Common Core expects. They're not going to be trained to teach the subject, they're going to be trained to teach to the standards. And it's called CAPE. That's the new organization, the new accreditation group that combines what used to be called NCATE, NCATE, and TEAC, T-E-A-C. These were the two acronyms. I won't bother going into the words that the acronyms stand for. I don't know what Texas does because each state does it differently. Some states mandate accreditation by what used to be NCATE, and so it may be this merged group that will be required to do the accreditation. It still has to go to a Department of Education because state licenses for teachers are under the control of a State Department of Education. So these groups make a joint recommendation to a State Department of Education that and then issues the teacher license or the administrator license. But it's the accrediting bodies that are the problem now because of the standards that were built in for them. And what you can do, depending upon what what the law now in Texas is simply to say that you will have a different accrediting mechanism. I don't want to get into the weeds here on how you set up a different accrediting mechanism in Texas, but you want to remove the external private organization called CAPE that has no public representation on its board of directors.